And since I didn't have my audio figured out yet, I'm going to go back and narrate some of these. This was on the side of a busy highway, grabbing an old net. I basically, when I picked up the sound talking to these people, it was basically just telling me where it was. Even though they were pointing out where it was, it's there on the hillside. I could not spot it until I was right up on it, which is typically the case. They hide so well down in the brush and undergrowth. Yeah, I start heading up towards him and going slow because I really didn't want to chase this deer. But I'm almost right there, and I don't know where he is until I see him get up right now and head towards the woods, right straight behind him. And I start to pursue, which means either cut through thick underbrush. I actually didn't see where he came out at, so I'm looking to see if he didn't just hunker back down again. And then I head back right towards where he was going, trying to look for a path through. Sometimes I go with the net forward, sometimes back. Just depends on how much sticker bushes get in the way and it's getting hung up on things, because sometimes it can be a booger, but you almost have to have it if you ever plan on catching anything. I mean, you could go through with your hands or whatever sheet, but you're never going to catch nothing, especially something fast like this. Your only hope's to like trip it up or, get just a little bit faster on a zig or a zag and make enough room to where you can get it. But this one was had a broken leg and it was fast. It kept getting up on me and it kept taking off, and I kept having a lot of trouble locating it because I didn't remember the number one rule is to keep your eye on it at all times. Do not take your eyes off of it because they move fast, they lay down, they hide, and you can almost, and you'll see in this video several times where I almost step on it and don't even know it's there because they hunker down so good. I mean, this was some thick, briary, nasty, thorny underbrush that I was cutting through, and to my left is like a wall of trees that had fallen and been stacked up by something. So I figured I at least had him. I was heading in the right direction because if he wasn't going to plow through that wall, he was going to take the path of least resistance, which was right through there. And so that's where I decided to go. Wasn't sure if he was there or where he went. And when that's the case, if you lose them, I typically, if you can, if it's not too thick and brushy, I try to make concentric circles around like the last part where I saw him, because you keep making wider and wider circles, eventually you're going to flush him out again, because they typically don't go far when something is injured like that. It's just trying to get away from me mainly and not have to run. But it was fast, and three-legged deer can jump and run just about as fast as a four-legged one. Way faster than me still. But here I'm cutting through these trees because I see a clearing on the other side there, and I figure that might be a good spot for him to head to, but it's slow going. Trying to push through all this junk. Pictures after this where my legs are all cut up and stuff, and everybody says, well, why don't you wear pants when you're out there doing that? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be nice, but deer chasing season's usually 90 to 100 degrees, and I don't want to be out there in long pants and 90 to 100 degrees in this rainforest like swamp. I mean, it's hot. It's hot enough with shorts on. I mean, I'll deal with the ticks and scratches or whatever better than I deal with overheating. And right about here, I'm cutting through this brush, and I realized that I think my shoe comes untied. Get stuck on some junk, so I have to stop and double knot my shoe. Well, maybe that wasn't there yet. Yeah, I think it was. You're getting close to it anyway. I'm looking around because I don't see where he could have went off to the left. It just looks too thick and precarious. But she's just looking out there. That looks like a field, like a straight field. I do not realize at all that what I'm walking into. Okay, here's the part where I have to tie my shoes. Hit through here, my shoelaces get tangled up on some of these stickers, and I'm trying to push them out of the way so my net doesn't get stuck on them. They're stickers. Yeah, my shoe's getting stuck on it. Just trying to get my shoe out. And I get smacked in the face with a stick at the same time. I saw him. Oh, I almost had him too. Almost had him. I thought he was hunkered down there, but he didn't. And I lost him again. He disappeared off into that darkness, thickness part. And there's my shoes untied. And that's when I gotta stop and double knot my shoes. So it's always best to double knot your shoes before you start a chase, because it's a pain in the butt when you're right in the middle of a chase and you gotta stop and knot your shoes again. But I run into bigger problems on this one. I had to get the branches and stuff out of my shoelaces so I could even tie them. And all the while, I'm just sitting there thinking I'm slowing down. It's like, I don't know where he went. Good luck finding him, because it's thick through there. But I go off in the direction where I thought he went, which I don't think was the right direction. I'm contemplating whether he went around or if he went out into that open area that we saw a minute ago. And I decided that he probably was heading that way. I didn't see him double back or make any turns, so I head out that way. And all the while I'm scanning the ground, because I know he could be hiding anywhere just right next to me, and I'm not going to see him. I go back out here to the... Now I'm going back out to this like a little wide open spot clearing here to look around to see if I can kind of get my bearings to where he might have went. And I just keep getting hung up on sticks the whole way. But I wasn't leaving the net behind, because that was my only hope of catching this thing. I was determined to catch it, or at least, get to the point to where I knew I wasn't going to catch it. But I almost had it. So, I wasn't giving up at this point. I was too close. I knew it was around here somewhere. I circled back around and I ended up going back, I think, through the same brush and underbrush I went through the first time. I was contemplating which way would be easier. If it'd be easier to backtrack through where I just came out, or circle back around through the stickers, because either one seemed hard. But I went back out a little bit. That's my concentric circle where I start, widening my area, looking everywhere for him. And your eyes gotta be good. They gotta be peeled, because they blend in so good with the forest floor that you almost don't even know they're there. And that's the point. That's how they survive. Alright, well, it looks like I opted to go back. No, that's the way I came out, looking for him. So I guess I decided to go back in that way. It would be a little bit easier. So I head back to this, what I think is a clearing here, like a little fielded area, but little do I know that once I get out on it, it is a swamp, like quicksand, type area. Big old swamp too. And probably the only reason I was able to get my hands on this deer is because he fell for the same thing and went out in the same bog-like swamp. It's solid ground here. And then there I see him right in front of me, and I don't really register that he's bogged down. I just focus, so I take off after him. And even when he gets up, takes off running, I don't really see how far he goes. I thought he might have kept going, but I thought he might have laid down there, but I'm still going after him. And I realized that was a mistake. I sunk down in there, lost my shoe. I'm having to pull swim myself along, but I get my net. I see him right there where I got my net now, so I got him in there. So I'm still trying to drag myself along the top of this quagmire to get him. And once I get my hands on him, I didn't want to let him go, but the added weight kind of made it even worse. I start bogging down that much more, and I didn't think I was trying to pull myself out with the vines. I eventually end up using my net to pick myself up, and I have to toss the deer off to the side so I lose the weight, and like pull myself out of the quagmire. I grab my shoe, I think, and get it back on, and then I reach and grab the deer, and I left the net behind because I couldn't carry it, and it was kind of back behind me because I used it to like climb out like a ladder almost to get out of that muck, because there's such a suction. Just I thought I was going to die. I even say that on the original video, but didn't catch the sound. I was like, I think we're going to die here. And I hope not, but I think we're going to die. And well, now I'm back on more solid ground, and I'm deciding whether I want to cut through the stickers or right through the sticks. And I think I'm going to opt for the sticks. The stickers was a little bit further and a little bit more painful going through. So I just plow right through, and you can hear on the original video where it has some sound that picks up this. I'm breathing super hard, like I'm spent. It was hot that day, and very hot, and just the adrenaline getting you worked up in a situation like that, and it wears you out fast. Once it wears off, like you got the deer now, so I mean, like the adrenaline's kind of starting to wane. But I get turned around. I didn't really realize where I was or how far I'd went, but I could hear the highway a little bit, so that's headed towards that direction, hoping I was heading in the right direction. Not sure where my truck was relative to where I was coming out, but figured if I just made it to the road, I might be able to see my truck and walk to it, so I just headed that way. And it was about this time that I realized that there's a big steep hillside to navigate to get down. And as little energy as I had left, I was worried that I would fall, kill myself for the deer at the end, because it was I was so weak. I mean, I barely make it back to the truck, and I barely get the door open to get the deer in. I mean, I was exhausted. And you'll see at the end of the video here, it's coming up, that where the mud came all the way up to my waist, that I was sunk in it. And I mean, it may not have been quicksand, but mud and muck, when you get sunk that far, it creates like a suction that it's very hard to break and get out of. But luckily, I had that net, and it helped me to pull myself out and break that suction, like almost like a ladder. And that net sacrificed itself, so we both got out of there. It was left behind on some poor old boy's property, and sorry, but you got a crappy swamp pond muck thing that probably kills animals, and almost killed me because I did not know it was there. It looked just like solid ground still. Even in this video, I couldn't tell that it was there. But here I make it back to the truck, thank goodness. And these people actually waited for me, and I'm glad, because they were probably the only people that knew I was in there. If I didn't come back out, they might have sent for help. But you see here, it's like I'm even struggling. I can't even hardly get my door open to that thing. Like, I open that cage all the time. Like, I couldn't do it. It's like I was exhausted. And like, you can see how big that baby is when I put it in the. That's a big cage. It takes up almost the back of my truck, and he takes up the cage. So it was not a small deer, but I didn't want to leave it out there to suffer in that heat. I'm glad those people waited on me. I really appreciate that. You can see how muddy I was. I ended up with both my shoes, but I was sunk. We got it though. Got the deer.